Fist flying, no bounds. Podcast kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, spills, nights get loud. Big EQB, that's how we get down.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it again for another Thursday night of some combat sports talk and MMA news and everything else going on in MMA and everywhere else in combat sports. I just said that. Yeah, we're done with the UFC for the year. So after this recap, we got a few weeks before the UFC comes back. So that's disappointing. I mean, we do have something coming up this weekend though, and that's Usyk versus Fury Part 2, the rematch. And it's a big boxing match going on this weekend, so at least there's some fights to watch. If you just like combat sports and like watching fighting of any sort, then it's a good one to watch because the last fight was pretty damn good. So good back and forth fight, and it went all 12 rounds, but it was a really entertaining fight. So we got that coming up for a rematch, and that's about it right now. So it's looking like I might take next week off. So next week is up in the air, but make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, if I do go live or if I put out any videos at all, you will know and you will be notified. So make sure you do that. And like all my social media, it's all going on down there. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and I'm on Spotify if you want to listen to the podcast audio only, because sometimes, YouTube's not always the best way to watch. Unless you have YouTube like premium, then you can listen in the background still. So not everybody has that though. But I would appreciate it if you do listen to the audio only. You come back here and watch a few minutes of the podcast on YouTube so I get some views and help me grow the channel. Make sure you like it and subscribe and all that good stuff. But other than that, last full week of work before I get at least 2 days off in the middle of the week, which is strange. But yeah, Christmas is on Wednesday, so this is the last episode before the actual day of Christmas. So hopefully everybody's ready. If not, go out there and run around and get your last minute gifting, gift buying and everything else. I know I probably bought the last of the gifts. I didn't. I still got some stuff I got to buy, but it's not much because I know exactly what I'm getting. I know it's going to be there. It's fine. So I still have a few things, but I have a lot of wrapping to do, and that sucks. Because just wrapping's not fun. I don't like it. I mean, I would leave it all to my wife, but she doesn't like wrapping either. So it kind of lands on whoever is feeling motivated to do it. Like the other night, out of the blue, I was just like, I got to stand up. I got to do something while we're watching TV. So I went and I wrapped a few gifts. I did a few other gifts earlier in the week before that. And that's it. So this weekend's going to be crunch time, and we're going to have to get it done. But if I don't have a show next week, I won't have anything to prep, which means I'll have extra time. And I'm off on Tuesday, so if I have to, I'll just, hit the crunch time real hard and wrap everything Christmas Eve. So that is Christmas Eve, right? Is Tuesday, I think. I don't even know. This week I've been fucked up on my days all week, and I've been mixing up the days. So, Christmas Eve is on Tuesday. So next week I go to work on Monday, and then I'm off Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I have to go back for Thursday and Friday, which is whack. But it is what it is. So hopefully everybody's ready for Christmas, and hopefully everybody has a great Christmas, because this will be the last time you see me before then. I'm sure I'll hit that at the end. I'm rambling. I don't even know why. I have everything ready. I think I'm surprised that I didn't have a bunch of problems, and I hope that continues. Just because today was a day of problems, just stupid little stuff here and there that kept happening. So yeah, I came in here a little bit early just to make sure I didn't have any issues. And last time I did the pop-up podcast for Technically Unsound, I scheduled the stream, and I guess I did it incorrectly because some way or another I wound up with duplicate streams, and I wound up starting one that wasn't even it was a mess. So, which is what usually happens with those. But yeah, I'm going to work on a few things over this little bit of a break. I'm going to resituate my room here so it's better for the watch parties, because I kind of keep sticking to the same setup, the same layout, because I don't have a whole lot of options. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm super happy and I feel very lucky to be able to have an entire room to dedicate to podcasting, but with the watch parties it's a little bit different. Obviously, I have 2 other people in here and it gets a little crowded. It's not the biggest room in the world. So I'm going to try to move some stuff around and see if I can get a little bit of a better setup, so nobody has to, see things that are unnecessary to see. And so we don't look so scrunched up and all over each other. I know Clark likes to be all over everybody, but the rest of us don't really like it that much. Clark knows what I'm saying. Because that fool's he's handsy, and it gets worse as he gets more drunk. And I'm not talking about with women. He's handsy with men. He likes his friends a little too much. But I always got to give him shit. He says we always give Josh shit. Well, I got to give him shit too. So, and they give me shit right back. So it's okay. That's our friendship. It's fun. But this weekend and maybe next, on Tuesday, I'm going to be doing some moving around. I can't wait. I've had this idea for like a little over a week now, maybe more, but I've been just dying to try it out. I want to see. I don't think anything's going to change during this show because you'll just see the background still, but who knows? But I think I'll still be able to get it to be in this exact same format right here. I don't want to do too many big changes at once, so I'll do the rearranging of the room first, and then I will see how that comes out, and then maybe I'll think about changing other stuff up. But for now, I'm just anxious to get it done and see if it works, so I know the next watch party, which will be January 18th, for the next pay-per-view for the UFC, and that's actually... Oh, damn. They don't even have it listed. What the hell? Usually you can go to Google UFC events, and it brings up right away, straight up in front, the next UFC event that's happening. And it doesn't even have all of the events leading up. So, but yeah, January 18th is the next, UFC card, which means we don't have, I don't think there's another fight before that. So that means we don't have any fights until then. And that's a lot. So it's like 3 or 4 weeks without a UFC fight, which really, really sucks because, we're used to having them every single weekend. You find out how spoiled you are when you don't have it anymore. But that's going to be a great card. Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan, the rematch. So that should be a good one. Arman Tsarukyan is the #1 contender right now in the lightweight division, so that'll be for the lightweight championship. And then there's another championship, a bantamweight title belt happening. Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. That's going to be happening as well. Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. Kevin Holland versus Rainier de Ridder, who's only fighting in his second UFC fight. He's a guy that came from one championship and was a double champ over there. And then on the undercard in the prelims, we have Johnny Walker versus Bogdan Guskov, Peyton Talbot versus Hani Barcelos, Jelton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. God damn, this is a good card. Zachary Reese versus Cedric Dumas, Grant Dawson, Diego Fajeda. Damn. Yeah, this is a pretty damn good card. It just keeps going too, and yeah, so it's pretty good. So I can't wait for that one, and I'm hoping that I have the room set up and ready to go, and everything works out well, so that we have a different look for the watch party. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be good. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Obviously, I'm gonna have shows between now and then. It's just gonna be. I'm gonna try to come up with some good ideas for content and see what I can do. Everyone's doing like best of, best rankings, awards, best ofs. That's what everybody's doing for shows right now. So I want to see if I can come up with something a little bit different, but it'll just depend on what I have going on over these next, couple weeks or so. But I would like to come up with something that maybe someone else isn't doing. If not, maybe we'll just get some best ofs, and maybe I can have someone jump in like Infinity, who's in the chat. If we get your echoing completely gone, then I would say, yeah, for sure, maybe we can have you jump in and do some best ofs with me if that's what I wind up going with. Because I haven't had a guest in a while, and that's mainly because of me. I just haven't wanted to deal with having the outside, stuff to come in, and worried about that as well. But yeah, he says it's pretty much fixed, so that's good. It did sound like it got a lot better last night. We go live on Wednesday nights and Sunday nights for the Technically Unsound podcast. So even if you don't see me next week, you'll see me on the Technically Unsound podcast, because I'm sure we're still doing it. And yeah, Wednesdays and Sunday nights, we go live there. So don't forget to go over to that channel and subscribe over there as well. And that's if you want to hear me talk about something other than MMA and combat sports. We do bring it up there though, because my guys like to support me. So we we give a little preview on Wednesday nights of what's happening tonight. So we shout out this podcast all the time. And that's why I always make sure I shout them out as well. And I appreciate being on it. So it's fun, and it's always a good time. So go check it out. That's enough for the small talk. Let's get into what we're here for, and that is combat sports. And let's start with some combat sports news. And I just realized something, that I didn't put something that was very important to put in to some of my hashtags and tags on YouTube, because I forgot that I'm talking about this. So let's get started and find out what I'm talking about. Combat sports news. Good old Conor McGregor and the Paul brothers. Yes, I know. Everyone's like, what the fuck now? Why are we talking about these guys again? But that's because they're immersed in combat sports, man. We can't get rid of them. And it's okay. Sometimes it's good for some content. And that's what I use it for. But most of the time it includes somebody of importance in MMA. So I kind of have to talk about it. And of course, gonna talk about Conor McGregor. But Conor says the rumors of a bout with Topuria, he means Topuria, are false. I am in preliminary agreements with the Ambani family to face Logan Paul in a boxing exhibition in India. I can't read, apparently. He says, I have agreed. I will then seek my return to the octagon. King Terzi, what's going on, brother? Welcome back. Appreciate you coming back, by the way. So yeah, Conor talking about fighting Logan Paul of all people, when we all thought if any fight was to happen with the Paul brother, it'd be with Jake Paul. But that's not happening, and that's because Jake Paul says he had something to say about all this too, and we'll get to that in a second. But as for now, Logan Paul said that he was kind of done with boxing and everything, but it doesn't seem like that's the case, because now we're hearing all these rumors, and I honestly thought that the rumors were just rumors, but it sounds like there's some validity to them. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what comes out. Terzi says Colby by decision didn't play for me, but you got the buck by KO, right? Oh, I didn't place the bet, man. I fucking should have. I fumbled the bag on that one. I thought about it over and over and over again. I was like, you know what? with those odds, I gotta put that bet in, and I got fucking sidetracked. I didn't do it. I should have done it that night. So Terzi, I fucked up, and I did not win that bet. But as far as Logan Paul goes, he also on his Instagram story kind of reposted this and had like a background picture of him and Conor just looking straight ahead with like the background pic. Who knows what that means? You never know with the Paul brothers, because they'll play into it, and they're trolls. So who knows? That doesn't necessarily confirm anything. But according to Ariel Helwani and other people, this is something that has some legs. And I've heard from multiple sources and multiple people online and everything like that, that like everyone thinks that this might be kind of the tail end of Conor McGregor in the UFC, because the way that Dana White has been responding to questions about Conor, it's a little bit weird. So maybe the decision in the court case maybe had something to do with it, but you know, he still has 2 fights on his contract for the UFC, and I'm damn sure that they're gonna pump those out, because he brings eyes to the UFC. He's involved in multiple of the highest gates, the highest pay-per-views, all that. So they're not gonna just let it go without him fulfilling that contract, I don't think. But it does seem like there's always this little bit of separation that you see between the organization, going through Dana White, obviously, because he's the mouthpiece, and you always see that little bit there, and it kind of seems like that's what's happening with Conor right now. But let's look at it this way. Conor McGregor, I mean, he was a double champ, right? He held the belt in the featherweight division, and he held the belt in the lightweight division. But here's the thing. He never defended any of his belts. So like that to me is weird. Okay, first of all, he hasn't fought since 2021 when he broke his leg against Dustin Poirier, and did sit on the canvas like a G and talked mad shit, instead of screaming in pain or anything like that, like Chris Weidman did, like Anderson Silva did. He was sitting there talking to Joe Rogan and screaming at Poirier about his wife being in his DMs. But his last 2 fights were losses against Poirier in the same year, January of 21, July of 21. So before that, he had the win against Donald Cowboy Cerrone, which I have that picture of. It's over there. It's out of the frame, but it's there. Before that, he had 2 losses as well. So here's the thing. Khabib defended the belt when he fought Conor. Conor defended or won the lightweight belt when he fought Eddie Alvarez, and that was the only win he had in the 155 division. Since then, he's fought in, since the Khabib fight, he's fought in 170, the welterweight division. It's so crazy. He won his belt against Chad Mendes. No, he won the interim belt against Chad Mendes, won the belt from Jose Aldo, and then didn't defend because he got how did this even work? It doesn't even make sense. Yeah, he fought Nate in the welterweight division twice, and then he fought Eddie Alvarez in the lightweight division. And then, Jesus, it's hard to even follow. But that's the thing. Conor had a great come up, but his championship years were few and far between, because then he had the fight with Floyd. So if you really think about it, his mouth and his actions are what made him the superstar that he is. And I'm not denying that he was that. I just don't think that he still is, because what has he done? He hasn't done anything. He got the 1 win against Cowboy, who was on his way out, and it was head kick to punches, which is really shoulder punches, and Cowboy just can't handle that. Because as soon as he gets in trouble, it's done. And I mean, everything else is losses. That's all he's done is lose. So why do we still talk about Conor like he's the saving grace for the UFC? I think when he comes back and in the 2 fights that he has left on his contract, he's gonna lose. They got to give him like an up-and-comer that just got into the UFC for him to not lose. And he's not going to fight somebody like that. They're not going to put somebody like that with him in a main event or a co-main. But I don't think Conor's ever going to fight a co-main. They'll build a card around him and they'll try to give him someone that he can beat. But will he still beat them? I don't know. And I don't see this going well for him against Logan Paul. Logan fought against Mayweather, may not have won, but he did okay. But Mayweather likes to fuck around, so you never know with that one. But he fought Dylan Dennis and won. Does that really mean a lot? I don't know, because Conor's actually a striker. So what's this gonna do for him? I mean, it's gonna get some money, obviously, and with him dropping all these sponsorships and partnerships with companies due to the allegations and the civil case that he lost. Maybe that's what he needs. I don't know, but this is just strange, man. It's strange to see, and when you really break it down and look at it, what Conor has and hasn't done since he first won a belt against Mendes back in 2015. Since 2016, he's had 1 win. 1 fucking win. I mean, come on. Not to mention all of the fights he lost outside of the cage with legal problems, with everything else. So it's just tough, man. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this. Like, I've never been a gigantic McGregor fan, because I was a Khabib fan. Still am a Khabib fan, obviously, but he's retired. So, and he's not coming back. So I'm still a Khabib fan, but what's there to be a fan of except for him as a coach now? So I was a big Khabib fan. So of course I was like, against Conor and that and everything. But when it comes down to it, I just was never the biggest Conor fan. And all the people that were Conor fans were just so annoying. So I think that's what led me to kind of root against him a lot of times. But it is what it is. And this is what's the news now and what might be happening. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Here's what Jake had to say. He said, now it all makes sense why Conor and his management team have been desperately trying to get MVP to negotiate for a fight between us. As we told them privately, and I'm now saying it publicly, the only way we're willing to explore me versus Conor in a pro boxing / MMA fight is if Dana White / the UFC are at the table directly or make it clear that they are okay with discussions. Conor is washed, needs the Pauls, Logan by however he wants. So that's more than I thought would be coming from Jake. I guess he knows that he's not ever going to get a fight with somebody in the UFC without the UFC being at the table and Dana White agreeing to even having discussions. So basically it's not even going to be a thought. But I'm surprised by that, but at the same time I'm not, because he knows what he's up against and he's not going to win that battle. So if the fighter belongs to the UFC at the moment, they're not going to give him up that easily. And right now, Jake Paul has a partnership with the PFL. He's a part owner, I guess, and he's fully immersed in there, even though he has done nothing with it. I haven't even seen him promote anything with it. But before, he was talking about fighter pay, talking about advocating for the fighters and making sure that they get this, that, and the other thing. Talking about possibly being in the super fight division and fighting in MMA in the PFL. I mean, we saw what Nate Diaz had to say. He said, he said, don't take 12 months to sign a contract and we're not fighting in some shitty league or some shitty organization, meaning the PFL. So if Nate wants to fight him in MMA, or if Jake wants to fight Nate in MMA, it's got to be in the UFC. But how can Jake do that if he has a contract with the PFL? It's a lot of things in the mix, and it's a lot of back and forth kind of bullshit, I guess, in the end. But that's the news for now. And when it comes to Conor McGregor, you just never know. You never know what is gonna come next, and you never know what's in the making. He comes out and tweets things. He comes out and says things on Instagram. He comes out and does this, that, and the other thing, and you never know what's true. You never know what's him just talking shit or trolling. You never know what's actually gonna come to fruition and be a real thing. So all you can do is sit back and watch and wonder and hope that you get something, I guess, if you're a true Conor fan and you want to see him fight again. You're hoping that something comes through, but he's got to get out of these legal problems. He's got to stop with the bullshit, and he has to get in the cage. Oh, I'm sorry, he has to get in the gym, and he's got to work. And it doesn't seem like he's been doing that, and it sounds like he's starting to, but that doesn't mean anything unless he has a fight and something is really put on the books, basically. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm wondering what's really gonna come first, a UFC fight or a boxing fight with somebody outside of the UFC, just because it doesn't seem like the UFC stuff is coming in as quickly as we thought it would. We've been waiting for 2 years, 3 years, 4, however fucking long, for Conor to get back in the cage because he was supposed to fight Chandler and it got canceled and all this other shit. So, I mean, are we ever gonna see him back? A lot of speculation is that we might not ever even see him back in the UFC. But like I said, he's got 2 fights on his contract, and I'm pretty sure the UFC is gonna want to have him fulfill that, and they're gonna keep him in there for the eyes and everything else. So, in the end, I guess we'll find out if this actually comes into play and he fights either one of the Paul brothers. Good luck with that. That's all I gotta say. So let's move on to this weekend's big boxing match. Usyk versus Fury 2, happening in Riyadh for Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia. That's where all the big boxing matches have been happening. That's where a lot of fights have been happening in general, because Turkey El Sheikh is or El Sheikh, I don't even know. El Sheikh, I think, something like that. He's putting up the money. He's the one that is definitely getting all the big fights out there. So this is going to be a good one. I just rewatched the first one because it's been a minute. It hasn't been that long, but it was still enough time for me to have kind of forgotten everything about it. It was back in May. So, and it was the first time in 25 years there had been an undisputed heavyweight boxing champion. So that's a kind of a crazy stat right there. Let's see. Sounds like this music is way lower than my other one, but that might just be me here. Anyway, yeah, so that's happening this Saturday. And I mean, I feel like it's going to be a pretty damn good fight, honestly, because the first one was really good. It went back and forth. Volume's good. Infinity said thank you. So yeah, I mean, I felt like it was a good fight the first time, back and forth. Fury came out looking like, in the first fight, looking good, and he was fucking around a little bit. He was feeling himself, dancing around and making funny faces and all this other shit like he usually does. But when he's really feeling it, he does it. He ups it a little bit. But he came out looking pretty good. In the first couple rounds, it seemed like up until about maybe let's see. I think it got a little better for Usyk in the later rounds, but like 5, 6, and 7, Fury pretty much took. The first few were a little back and forth. It seemed like they were in the middle of in the middle of those first rounds, they were already talking about how if Fury keeps going on this, in this direction, that he's basically gonna win the fight. But then it took a turn, and it took a turn in like pretty much the halfway through the 7th round, and in the 8th round, Fury just got caught a little bit, and then you started noticing his facial expressions change and stuff like that. In the 9th round, he got knocked down. Technically, he didn't really go down, but he got hit. He stumbled. He couldn't get his legs under him. He was stumbling all over the place. He would try to get off the ropes, and he would just fall back into the other ropes until about the 3rd or 4th time, the ref decided to call it a knockdown, gave him the 8 count. He was good. And then the bell rang right after that. So he got saved by the bell on that one. And, it kind of went that way for a little bit for him. And then Fury started to come back, of course. And then wins the 12th round. But, Usyk basically did enough to be able to win that fight, regardless of how good Fury looked in the beginning and throughout the fight. But Usyk was getting beat up too. So they both wound up beating each other up pretty damn good. And, it was a split decision win for Usyk, but he did get the win to become, the first undisputed heavyweight champ in 25 years, which is crazy. So, yeah, and it's weird because Fury didn't even look that upset by it. He actually, cheered right away as soon as the decision was, handed out. And he looked like he knew exactly, like, hey, listen, I lost that one. It was a good fight, but I lost it, which is cool. I mean, it's a good sportsmanship by him, and he's staying humble, and that's good. That's why a lot of people like him. But man, Usyk he's the smaller guy, but he's fast, and that's what you usually get. The smaller guy's usually faster, but he really gets in and out pretty quick. And throughout that first fight, it seemed like Fury was his back on the ropes a lot. And it's weird how he keeps his hands down. He's got that little flipping jab that he does. And, if you remember, Wilder was accusing him of having, I think it was Wilder, was accusing him of having something in his glove because it looked like in the replays, like he was flipping it. And they were saying it was weighted in the front and something hard was hitting him and shit like that. So, I mean, it's kind of weird, but he really does. That's what he does. That jab is just a crazy little flip jab, and his glove is just, it looks strange, but it's the way he throws it. And to me, it worries me that he keeps his hands down so much, because Usyk, being as fast as he is, getting in there, I mean, how's he going to get his hands up that quick? But he's done well to this point, right? He's got a chin on him, and he recovers, and that's what he does well. So you can never count Fury out, no matter how bad he looks, no matter how beat up he looks. Think about that fight against Wilder when he got knocked down. It looked like he got knocked out, and they're counting it down, and next thing you know, he sits up like the fucking Undertaker out of nowhere, and Wilder's like, what the fuck is this? And so he gets up and wins that fucking round. It's insane. So you can never count Fury out. But as for the rest of the card, listen, I don't follow boxing that closely, so I'm not sure too much about the rest of these boxers, but and of course it's a lot of names that are hard to pronounce. So there you go. If you're wondering about the rest of the card, there it is laid out for you. Happening December 21st in Riyadh. So yeah, that should be a good one. There's a few stats here from the first fight. The CompuBox stats: 157 punches landed for Fury, 170 for Usyk, 496 thrown for Fury for a 32%. And Usyk 407 thrown for 42% on landing. So, I mean, not bad, pretty close actually, if you think about it. 40. I mean, it's a 10% difference, but you know, that kind of gives you insight as to why Usyk was able to pick up that win, and he got the one technical knockdown too. So there's a lot to think about there. And if you look at down the road and you start to wonder, like, hey, what can happen if Fury wins this fight, right? You're gonna get a trilogy. That's always good. That's always good for both boxers. If something like that happens, you get the trilogy, and it's a true trilogy if Fury wins this one, because then they're 1-1, and you gotta get the tiebreaker, right? That's what you do when you're a kid playing basketball in the streets. When you're playing baseball, when you're playing a video game, it's like best of three, and and then you get that one person edges them out, and then you go, hey, let's go best of 5. That's what you do. Well, they do that in this shit too. Professional fights, you get that sometimes. Maybe not as much as up to 5, but the trilogies happen a lot, especially with the bigger fighters, the bigger name fighters, I should say. There is one other interesting thing to think about with this fight. And it's not gonna affect the fight, but it's something good that could come from it. Turki El-Sheikh, like I said, the guy that is putting together all these big fights, he said, for the first time ever, an AI-powered judge will monitor the fight, free from bias and human error. Brought to you by The Ring. The groundbreaking experiment, which won't impact the official results, debuts during the biggest fight of the century on December 21st. Don't miss history in the making. So, I mean, that's interesting, because that could look bad for them, or it could go well for them. If the AI powered judge scores the fight the same way everyone else does, if it goes to a decision, then that looks good, right? But if by chance, if it's the exact same scores, that's good for everybody. But it looks bad on those judges if the AI judge is on the complete different side, which we know judges in boxing, judges in MMA are never good. There's always some bullshit, and it just is bad. It's bad. Especially in boxing, man. It's corrupt as shit. You never know who's getting what and who's favoring who, and who has ulterior motives for judging the fight the way that they did. So I guess this is a good way to test it out and see what we have at the end of the fight if it goes to decision. I'm sure they're going to give us the scorecards up until the point of a knockout, if that's what happens too. It'll be interesting regardless. So I'll be waiting to see how that turns out. But as far as the fight itself goes, few highlights from the last one. Obviously, in the beginning, Fury with the punches, putting together good combinations. That little flick jab that he has was working well and landing a lot. He was landing a lot of body shots too, which was good for him, just wearing out Usyk. He was getting in there on him, even though Usyk has a good defense. And Fury's got heavy hands, and that uppercut is nasty. He landed that quite a bit in that fight as well. So that was one of the best things that he had going for him besides that jab. The body shots, the uppercuts, he was getting through that defense, and he was landing them. And it was good. It was really good for him. Just none of it had the amount of power that could get a KO for him, unfortunately. And Usyk, that just goes to Usyk being durable and being a tough guy. So Infinity says Gypsy King is a monster. He definitely is. He's a big motherfucker, but on top of that, he's just a beast in the ring, and he's got those hands, man. He's a great boxer, and he's got a badass nickname, the Gypsy King. That's fucking cool. But Usyk's like got weird swag. Like, I don't know. He wears some of the weirdest shit. He showed up all over doing media and stuff this week, and he looked like fucking Prince. He had a fucking like a purple damn suit on, looked like a jumpsuit with the white ruffles and everything. And you're like thinking he's about to start singing Purple Rain with an accent. I don't know what the hell that was about, but that shit was funny. Blouses, exactly. It's, you just start thinking of Dave Chappelle talking about, or not Dave Chappelle, but on the Chappelle show when fucking Charlie Murphy was talking about playing basketball with Prince in a blouse. Shit was hilarious. But Usyk came out looking like that shit. It was funny. Go check it out. It's good for a laugh. Hey, Infinity, I forgot too. I was gonna mention that I actually have the ultra low latency going on. So I was just wondering how that was working as far as what do you call it? Delay. Like how big is the delay? Does it seem like to you if you've been paying attention? I don't know. Just curious. But yeah, if you notice that right hand of Usyk on the top and then the big left on the bottom in those pictures, my comments are damn near real time from what I see. Oh shit, that's great. Okay, good. I tried it once before. It didn't seem like it really worked, so I was hoping that it worked again this time. That was one of the other things I kind of changed up. And yeah, I like it better when there's not a ton of delay, because then yeah, it just seems like, I don't know, just waiting for an answer from somebody or responding to something that they talked about 10 seconds ago or some shit. It's, you know, or vice versa, you know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, that's a good thing. So especially when I'm here by myself, I can do that and it doesn't affect anything as far as CPU usage or anything like that. So that's fun. I just like being able to interact with the chat as close to real time as possible. So it's good. But yeah, Usyk with the hand here in these pictures and that big left, you see Tyson Fury looking like the big ogre that he is. But yeah, we'll see what else Usyk has to give in this fight. Is Fury gonna come out looking as good as he did in the last one? Is Usyk gonna come out looking better in the beginning? You know, with a 12-round fight, like, man, there's a lot of time. Even though those rounds feel very short when you're used to watching MMA and seeing, you know, having 5-minute rounds, and then you get the championship rounds with 5 rounds at 5 minutes, it feels like a lot longer. Even though the accumulative of 3 minutes for 12 rounds is longer, it feels like it goes so fast because those rounds are just over before you know it. So we'll see what Usyk has to give this time, and we'll see if we get a trilogy in the making. I know I'm pretty excited for this fight. I might not buy it, but I'll be waiting to see some highlights, or, you know, if somehow, some way I find a way to watch it, you know. That'll be good. That'll be good. I'll definitely be watching if I can. I spend too much money on MMA, so I find it very hard to buy, especially cards like this where, I mean, really, I'm buying it for one fight. Like, at least with the UFC, I'm buying it for, if nothing else, the entire main card, but most of the time it's the entire main card and about 80% of the prelims most of the time. And that makes it worth it for me. And they're pretty expensive. So I don't want to be spending, I don't have that good. Oh shit, sponsor. I forgot to talk about my sponsor. Damn it. But my sponsor's for the product, but it's a good product. It's Noctane Smelling Salts. I'll hit up the QR code again, or I'll hit the QR code on the screen when we're done here. But can't forget to talk about my sponsor, Noctane Smelling Salts. And I didn't even take a whiff, so I'm gonna do that right now. Wake myself up. Woo! Oh, that was a tough one. Those are the strongest smelling salts I've ever had, and I've tried a few different ones. This is their most potent. As you can see by the watery eyes, this might be what one of these guys need if one of them catches the other in the middle of the fight. It almost looks like Fury needs these smelling salts after that bottom picture right there, but damn, that was a tough one. It definitely wakes you up and gets you alert. So check out Noctane Smelling Salts if you get a chance. Buy a bottle, try it out. They have the lowest potency is a white cap. The mid potency is the black one. That's the one Infinity has. Death cap. And the highest, the most potent is the red cap. As you saw me react, it's tough, but it's worth it. And they're fun. And it's cool to do it with your friends and see the reactions. It's always a good time. We do them on the watch parties all the time. Again, I'll show that QR code later. I gotta wipe away my tears of joy. And that's it. Usyk versus Fury happening this weekend. Don't forget to check it out. Start time is going to be a little different because it's in Riyadh. Let me see if I can find an actual time. 4 p.m. GMT. Okay. 11 a.m. Eastern. Fuck. 10 p. Oh shit, it's gonna be late Saturday. Okay, I don't know, man. It's gonna you're just gonna have to be on the lookout for that shit, because it's tough to tell the difference in the time. So it's looking like it's gonna be late Saturday night from what it seems like. So I'll be watching out for that, and we'll do a little recap of it if I do the show next week or whatever, whenever I do the next show. I haven't decided yet. So let's move on to some MMA and the recap of UFC Tampa that happened last weekend. The last fight card of the year for the UFC happened last Saturday. UFC Fight Night, Tampa. In the welterweight division, we had Colby Covington versus Jaquin Buckley for the main event. And for me, it was a good time. I had a great time watching that fight. And that's because we all know I do not like Colby Covington, because he's a douche, he's a bitch, and yeah, fuck Colby. I feel strongly about that, and you can't change my mind. There's nothing you can do. And listen, a lot of people talk about how it's just a shtick and it's his character, but you know what? WWE wrestlers have characters, okay? Fucking people who act in shows and do reality shows probably are just characters. This motherfucker has a character in a sport that's as real as it can get, and he plays this fucking guy who is a complete douche. I think it's him being who he really is, and he puts up a front in his normal life to try to be a nice person. And you know what? If I'm wrong, it's okay. Doesn't make me want to slap him less. Doesn't make me want to kick him in his balls any less. I see his face and I hate him. Okay? That's all there is to it. I apologize to anyone who gets offended by that, but fuck you for liking Colby Covington, all right? I don't know what to say. I don't like the guy, okay? I really don't. So to watch him get bloodied and battered was fucking phenomenal. And I know I just sound like one of those other dumb fucks on the internet talking shit, and I wouldn't do it to his face, but listen, I may not fight the guy to his face, but I saw Sean Strickland at the UFC Expo, and I had to get out of line because I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen if I go up there. That's how much I don't like the guy. You go up to the stage, you walk across, and you stop at every fighter, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna be that guy that says anything. I'm gonna walk right past him, and he might wonder why. He might not give a shit because it's Sean Strickland. He doesn't usually give a shit, but you know, I just couldn't do it. I was like, I can't even bring myself to go up there and even be near this guy. And Colby's even worse. Call me petty, call me stupid, I don't know, but there's a very few guys that rub me the wrong way, like these two guys do. And I'll tell you this right now, Sean Strickland has won me over a tad bit, so I hate him a little less than I hate Colby Covington. But Colby Covington can just fuck right off. And if I ever met him in person, I wouldn't meet him. I would just walk right by him because he's nothing to me. That's all there is to it. I don't have to fight the guy. I don't have to talk the shit to the guy to his face. None of that. I just have to pretend that he doesn't exist because that's better for me, because I just don't like him. And I'd rather just walk right by. And you know what? If he had a problem with it and said something, I'd just be like, I don't like you, dude. Sorry. Fuck off. See you later. And hope he doesn't try to kick my ass. I'm a little bit bigger than Colby, but he's got a lot more skills. I'm not afraid to admit the fact that listen, I'm not going to beat the shit out of these guys. They're professional fighters. If I was to that level, I'd be getting paid for it, and somebody'd be talking about me. But I'm not there, so I'm not stupid. But that doesn't mean I can't voice my opinion. So fuck Colby Covington. But those things have consequences, and I understand that. Sometimes you get punched in the face for talking shit. So be it. But let's be real, Colby Covington would just take me down and sniff my crotch because that's what he's good at. So I hope it smells good for you, Colby. Fuck off. So we started off this fight card. I'll shut up about it now. We started off this fight card looking like a decision factory, right? We had 4 decisions to start off this card in the early prelims. Piero Rodriguez, I just spit my drink. Sorry, man. Oh shit, I hope you weren't around your computer. Infinity said he just spit his drink out. Piero Rodriguez versus Josephine Knudsen. Unanimous decision win for Rodriguez in the women's strawweight division. Davy Grant versus Ramon Tavares. Unanimous decision there for Davy Grant with the win in the men's bantamweight division. Miranda Maverick looking good in her fight against Jamie Lynn Horth, but Miranda Maverick's just a badass, so that's no surprise. She got the unanimous decision win there in the women's flyweight division. Yeah, flyweight, sorry. And then we had Felipe Lima versus Miles Johns in the men's featherweight division. Felipe Lima getting the unanimous decision win in that fight. And that brings us to the first knockout of the night. And we had, Stream Deck work. We had Sean Woodson versus Fernando Padilla in the men's featherweight division. And this was a KO in with 2 seconds left in the first round. And it was a KO or a TKO for Sean Woodson over Fernando Padilla. And I mean, Woodson looked damn good in this fight. Padilla looked all right. And, you know, he's looked good in his past fights. So I was wondering how this one was going to work out. But Woodson, I mean, just look at... Listen, no Diddy, man. But look at the dude's body. He looks awkward as shit. Like, even in punching somebody in the face, he looks awkward. And it's so weird. But he's one of those guys that you would see in the street and be like, that goofy motherfucker, he ain't going to fight. And then he comes over and whoops your ass because he's a badass. So, yeah, Woodson gets a big finish over Padilla. As you can see, Padilla going down here, and TKO in the first round for Sean Woodson. The next fight, flying knee to the weirdest ground strikes you can think of. And this was, unfortunately, Drakkar Klose, who Clark trained with back in the day. Clark, who's been on the show before on all the watch parties, Mr. Golf and Glory. He knew Drakkar Klose when he was here in our city, and trained with him and stuff, so still has contact with him every once in a while, I think. But he got a hard, tough loss against Joel Alvarez, who looked damn good in this fight. And then he caught him in the first round with that big knee. After, you know, he caught him with some good punches in the beginning, and then Drakkar just gets fucking just, I don't even know how to describe it, but that knee was fucking nasty, as you can see in that lower picture. And then fucking Alvarez gets him in a guillotine and looks like he's gonna choke him out, but instead, from this, holding his arm under his chin, on his neck, looking like he's gonna get like a standing guillotine, he winds up just punching down on him like this as he has him in that choke, and he just fucking knocked him out cold. It was nasty. So that was a hell of a fight. Woodson looked good in that fight with that knockout against Padilla, but this one was on another level. It was crazy. So that was a fun fight to watch, except for the fact that it was Drakkar Klose, and I feel bad for the dude because he's a good dude, and he was kind of on a streak. I think he was on like 1, 2, 3, 4 fight win streak with wins over Brendan Jenkins, Rafa Garcia, Joe Selecki, and Joaquin Silva. And then he meets Joel Alvarez and gets knocked out, man. Fucking, that's tough. It's only his third loss in the UFC. He's got 9 wins. And he's 15-3 overall for Drakkar. So hopefully he bounces back in a big way on this one. You know, sometimes You know, they say, what do they say? Win or learn. So you learn from your losses. That's what you got to do. So hopefully Jaquin comes back. What the fuck? Comes back in a big way and redeems himself. So let's move on to a throwback fight, man. Michael Johnson still at it, still doing the damn thing. And with everybody thinking that he's kind of getting to the tail end of his career and maybe not going to do well, he gets a knockout against Otman Azatar and gets a performance of the night bonus with this big knockout in the second round. And holy shit, he looks like fucking Dan Henderson with the H-bomb in that second picture on the bottom. As you can see, that first picture on top is when Azatar goes down and is out, and then Michael Johnson follows up with that big bomb. And here's the finishing sequence where he's Azatar is just out flat, and Michael Johnson's still dropping bombs. It's like, fuck, that was a hell of a knockout. And that brings us to the main card. Navajo Sterling versus Tokos. I'm not sure exactly how to say that, but now we're back to the decision. So that was 1, 2, 3 KOs in a row, and then we get back to decisions, and we got 2 in a row. But this fight was pretty decent. I mean, I don't know these guys too well, but I think I've seen Tacos fight before. And I think Sterling, this is only like his second fight in the UFC. Nope, that was his first fight in the UFC. That's right. It was his debut. So he gets a big win for his debut in the UFC. He's undefeated at 6-0. So shit, we'll be on the lookout for him, because sometimes you get a long win streak when you got those guys that are undefeated and come in looking like that in their first fight. Tokos was coming off a loss, so that's 2 in a row for him. And he's 0-2 in the UFC. Not a good start there for him, so he's got to jump back in and get in that win column, or it's going to be over for him quickly in the UFC. Next fight, Daniel Marcos versus Adrian Yanez, and I did not know what to expect from this fight because Marcos is 16-0 coming into this fight. Yanez looked like a badass in all of his fights before this. He was coming off a win over Vinicius Salvador. Before that, he had 2 losses in a row, but all of his fights are good, and he looked like a beast. He's 6-3 in the UFC, so his record doesn't say a whole lot, but you know, I thought for sure this was going to be a good fight, and it was. But Daniel Marcos just looking like a beast and getting the best of Adrian Yanez with the split decision win in the men's bantamweight division. So as you can see, through the pictures, you know, Marcos just getting the best of Yanez there. So back to the KOs, and the rest of the card was KOs or TKOs, which was fucking awesome. So Dustin Jacoby versus Vitor Petrino was the next fight, and Jacoby just came out ready, fucking ready, and Petrino's a beast. So I'm thinking Jacoby has his work cut out for him. I mean, Petrino's coming out off a loss to Anthony Smith in that first round guillotine choke, but before that he was on a 4-fight win streak, but more than that outside of the UFC. So he was coming off a big win streak, and now he's got 2 losses in the UFC. But Jacoby just looked like a badass, and this knockout was insane. I mean, out of fucking nowhere, 3 minutes and 44 seconds into the third round, and he gets this big knockout against Vitor Petrino in the men's light heavyweight division. So that does it for that one. And then we had the shit talker Manel Kape versus Bruno Silva, and Bruno Silva came out ready to go, fucking throwing everything at Manel Kape. So I was thinking, shit, this fight's gonna go the distance probably, and it's gonna be a war. But Manel Kape comes out with a KO win in the third round over Bruno Silva, but not before he takes some damage from Bruno. As you can see in this picture, look at fucking Kape's face. God damn. That's a hell of a right hand by Silva. So, Cop winds up coming back, bloodying up Silva, battering him. And I mean, he looked pretty damn good. But dude, he did this crazy shit, man. Like, he's like talking to fucking Dana White, having a full-on conversation that you would have after a fight when you're not in the cage anymore. Not when you're in the cage. And Dana had to be like, hey, go and you got time left in that cage. Go finish what you're doing. We'll talk later. That's how much, like, there was nothing going on there. Cobb is just one of those weird dudes that fucking just keeps things going. I don't know. He's a weird guy, and he's always involved in weird fights, but he looked fast in this fight, and he was on point. And even though he took some damage himself, it was still a good fight for him, especially after that. Uh-oh. Why did my music just stop? What the hell? That was strange. I'm going to have to... Let me do this so I can get the music back. There we go. All right. Let me double check that because I wonder if somehow... Nope. It should still be going. That's weird. Okay, anyway. Yeah, Cop just looked fast in this one. He was on point with all of his strikes. And as you could see, bloodied up Silva and got the best of him. And again, after he gets the win, walking away from getting the knockout, and he goes over to Dana and starts talking, yapping, and just wouldn't shut the fuck up. But he's coming out that shitty ass fight with what's his name? I keep thinking Movsar Evloev, but that's who just fought not that long ago. Who the fuck was the fucking guy that got cut? Shit, I can't think of his name. You know what? I can look right here because it's Cop's last fight. It was a Muhammad Mokaev. So these guys were having fights in hotel lobbies, going at it with each other during the fucking weigh-ins and everything else. And then they get in the cage and dance around like some fucking idiots. So, and Cop does nothing but talk shit in his press conferences and shit. He was talking shit to Israel Adesanya because Izzy was trying to get him to shut up when he was talking shit to his boy. Why does my music keep stopping? That's fucking annoying. Anyway, Cop wouldn't stop talking shit to Kai Kara France, who is Izzy's boy. So Izzy got involved, and then Cop starts talking shit to him. They go at it. This was a while back in the press conference. So who knows, man? But yeah, this fucking he's such a jackass. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know why he thinks he's like the biggest, baddest motherfucker, even though he's only 125 pounds. But he's got a big mouth and he doesn't know when to shut it. So, and after the fight, he continued on that. And he's like, fuck Kai Kara France, fuck Izzy, and he's just like talking shit to everybody. After saying, I know I'm on ESPN and I shouldn't cuss, so I'm not going to, but fuck Kai Kara France, fuck Izzy. I'm like, what? There's a hell of a funny video if you check it out. On Izzy has reaction videos to all the fights, and he's sitting there eating like a chicken wing or something, and he's holding it in his hand, and he hears Cop say that, and he goes, why'd you say fuck me for? Kind of like 50 does in that meme. Shit was hilarious. It was perfect. I laughed at that thing and watched that video like fucking 4, 5, 6 times. Shit was funny. He said it just like 50 too. Why'd he say fuck me for? Oh man, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. It's funny as hell. But anyway, sounds like this music needs to be cut at the end because it's got some quiet time on the backside, and then it loops and comes back. So I got to make a note and fix that. But anyway, Manel Cop with a big KO over Bruno Silva. And I think Bruno Silva was on... Yep, he was on a 1, 2, 3, 4 fight win streak. All finishes in those 4 fights, and then he meets Manel Cop and gets finished. So he'll be looking to come back in a big way. And that brings us to the co-main event. Billy Quarantillo, Billy Q versus Cub Swanson. And of course, Cub being an older guy, and having talked about retirement before, I don't like the way that music just cuts out. That shit's annoying. They get the fight of the night because, you know, you see they're both a little bloody here. Cub's got some blood on his face. Billy's got some blood on his face. But man, this was a hell of a fight. And it went to the third round, a minute and 36 seconds in. Cub Swanson just puts the hurting on Billy Q. And Billy Q's he's a gamer, man. He gets in there and he'll trade with you. It's not the smartest way to go, but he makes it exciting, and he's a pretty damn good striker. But against Cub Swanson, man, Cub's got all that experience in the cage, and he still has some power, as you can see, because he got that big punch. It was a nasty combination, a beautiful combination, with that left and then followed up with the right, and knocked out Billy Q. So, right on, Infinity. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate you. Yeah, Cub gets the big knockout. You see that big shot to the chin in these pictures. And then he does, I don't know, just in the moment, I guess, uh-oh. All right. Of course, I don't have problems leading up, but then that's not working. Okay, what the fuck's going on now? Let me see what I got going on here, because so my stream deck just doesn't want to work. So that's cool. We'll just do, oh, there it is. That's all. It just wasn't working right. But there's those pictures. Cub does this crazy shit behind Jason Herzog, sticking his tongue out. Basically looks like he's licking him, which is hilarious. And he like throws his hands up while standing over Billy Q. Little disrespectful, but kind of a crazy celebration, right? And then you see the walk away at the end there. Cub was just on cloud 9 after that big knockout, because he hasn't gotten one of those in a while. Let's see, he was coming off a loss. He had the win-loss type record, and his last 2 fights were decisions. He got a finish back in 2022 by leg kicks over Jonathan Martinez. Oh, I'm sorry, that was him getting finished. He got a finish last against Darren Elkins. Yeah, that was a big win for him back in 2021. So he finally gets another finish under his belt, which was impressive as hell. So I was pretty happy for Cub, but Billy Q's a badass too, and I like him. So it was kind of sad for him, but at least he lost to somebody like Cub Swanson, who's a good guy. So, and that brings us to the final fight of the night, the main event, starting with Buckley beating the hell out of Colby, like we all like to see. At least I do. And yeah, like I said, I don't like Colby Covington, so this made me happy. And it was fun watching him get his ass whooped, because he came out looking like he, you know, first of all, he walked out with Hulk Hogan and Chael Sonnen. Now, Chael Sonnen has coached him for a while. They've trained together, and Chael coaches him and stuff, so that's understandable. But he doesn't usually come out in his corner, so he did for this fight. And then, you know, the Hulk Hogan music starts, and you're thinking, damn, Colby, you know, he's done the what's that guy's name? Fuck, the Olympic wrestler dude, bald-headed fuck, who's always red as shit. I can't remember his name. Kurt Angle. He's done the Kurt Angle walkout before. Didn't have Kurt Angle with him, but he did the walkout with that music and everything. But then he comes out, and, you know, we see the lights go down, and it's the Hulk Hogan music, and we're like, uh-oh. And yet, for sure, he comes out with Hulk Hogan fucking carrying the American flag. That was cool, whatever, but Hulk looked like he was hurting. I mean, that guy looks, it hurts to watch him walk. He's using the flag on a stick, and he's using the stick as a cane with the flag rolled up, and then all of a sudden they get a little further down the way, and he pulls out the flag and starts waving it. But it looks like he's gonna fall every time he tries to wave the flag one way or another. Don't get me wrong, I like Hulk Hogan. I respect the hell out of the guy, but he is old as shit, and his body is beat to hell from all that wrestling and craziness that he did in the ring. So, you know, It was a weird kind of walkout. Nobody was really feeling it. There was not a lot of cheers. It was kind of a weird, just a weird, quiet walkout. Strange. But anyway, Colby gets in there and he rips his shirt too. And of course, you know, even Hulk himself said that's what you do. You got to rip the shirt so that these top seams, you know, it's harder. It looks dumber when you're struggling trying to rip your shirt like that. So the shirt was pre-cut. Understandable, but with Colby being the douche that he is, it just looked very dumb and clunky, and he didn't look cool like he thought he did. But he rips the shirt off, whatever, gets in the cage. Looks like Burns and Colby want to fight next. Yeah, if Colby fucking actually does it. Colby's talking a lot of shit, but that doesn't mean he'll actually take the fight. But I guess we'll see. I mean, I would love to see Burns knock him the fuck out. That would be great. But I mean, I don't know if Burns would look as good as Joaquin Buckley. Buckley looked damn good in this fight. He looked dialed in, ready to go, and he didn't seem to have a big vendetta against Colby or anything like that. He was just there to fight. Terzi said Usman needs to fight soon, running out of time. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, that's kind of who Buckley called out. He gave everybody the option. He said, told the fans that were walking out, hey, you're gonna miss out. I'm about to do something. And then he gave everybody options on who he should fight and said the loudest applause would win. So he gave Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, and Bilal Muhammad, and it sounded like everyone liked the Usman fight. So he did kind of call out Usman, but we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. Not a bad way to do a call out. It just seemed a little lackluster because at the end of the night, people were kind of already getting up and leaving. Probably because they were like, well, we got to see Colby get his ass whooped. It's time to go. Buckley does like to talk, though. It's not always the best talk, but he does like to talk. So, yeah, there's some big strikes from Buckley there. Now we get to the blood. Now we get to the fun stuff. Because Colby's the one that's bloody. But you can see that big knee. Sean Brady fights who next? You know, I just heard a discussion about that. Because it seems like Sean Brady kind of got forgotten in the mix of everything else. I mean, there's just so much going on in that division right now. It almost seems like people forgot about Sean Brady. But I think he's in the mix to fight any of those top guys right now. I'm drawing a blank here, but I don't know. Like, I don't know who he should fight, but he definitely should get a big opponent next. Let me look and see who. I'm trying to think at the top of my head. Who was his last fight again? I can't even remember that. Gilbert. Oh yeah, Gilbert Burns, unanimous decision win there. Kelvin Gastelum, he beat before that. So he's on a 2-fight win streak, and his last loss was against Bilal Muhammad. So he does have that loss to Bilal, and he's beaten two pretty big names, but not guys that are really up there in contention right now. So that's a tough call, man. Like I said, he's in the mix up there. I just don't know who they would actually give him. He's 7-1 in the UFC. Like I said, it seems like they forgot him because he just hasn't really been in the talks with any of. Nobody's been talking about him with any of this stuff going on in that division right now. So, it's kind of a toss-up. I just hope he does get a fight soon, and that's the welterweight division. So, of course, there's a lot going on in that division right now. So, we'll see what kind of fight they give him and when they get him fighting again. But I mean, we're coming up to the new year. They're putting together some pretty decent cards. I wonder why JDM is. Oh, JDM too. Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday. Is not in the talks to fight yet too. Figured he would be on UFC 312 in Sydney. Yeah. Why hasn't he fought? And why hasn't any? Who was calling him out recently? I don't remember who that was calling him out. Yeah, he's undefeated in the UFC. Rumored up. Oh, that's who it was. It was Usman. It says rumored upcoming bout 312. Usman, JDM is what fans are saying. Yeah. It even in Tapology it says rumored upcoming bout. for February, but that's, you know, who knows? That's who Kamaru was talking about. We haven't heard from JDM at all, and everyone else has just talked about Usman calling him out. So I feel like it'd be a good fight, but I don't know if they'll make that fight. 7-0 JDM versus Usman, who hasn't really done a whole lot. I mean, Usman's on a 3-fight losing streak, 2 losses to Leon Edwards and a loss to Khamzat Chimaev, which he did look pretty good in that Khamzat fight, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. He still lost, so he's on a 3-fight losing streak, and they're going to give him an undefeated fighter. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it might be better to see him go against Buckley, but I think Buckley might kind of tear him apart. So that's tough. Sean Brady versus JDM, that could be good. Maybe put that one together. Anyway, back to Colby's bloody face. Yeah, as you can see, he got that cut over his eye. It was at the top of his eyelid. So unfortunately, the doctor decided that at the end of one of the rounds, this was a stoppage in the, at the end of the second round, she said, hey, you know, I'm not gonna let it go too much further, so watch that. And they get to the third round, and then it gets bad. But Colby's dumbass wouldn't stop wiping the fucking cut. You can see here Colby on top, got a takedown, but Joaquin Buckley was able to kind of turn it around on him. Khamzat Boers Chimaev super fan. Leon wants Jorge in London. Oh shit, that would be a damn good fight. Masvidal versus Leon Edwards to finally settle that beef after the backstage fucking little brawl that they had. Actually, ass whooping by Masvidal, because the 3-piece in a soda was unanswered by Leon, and I think he wants to get his hands on him. But I don't know if they'll make that fight, but they've been talking about Masvidal coming back, so it could get made. But yeah, fucking Buckley was just impressive in this fight, made Colby look like the bitch that he is, bloodied him up, cut him up, and just put in work. So I was happy to see that. You know, like I was saying though, Colby just wouldn't stop touching that cut. You can see here, I mean, it's all he did the whole time. And I get it, you know, the blood, it's over his eye, the blood's dripping down into his eye, and you know, whatever. But they would clean him up, and they would, you know, they put the Vaseline on there, got it, and then the second he came out, he'd do this and wipe it away again. And Buckley, you know, he knows, he was talking shit, he was feeling himself at the end there. Cole was just standing there looking dumb, like I said, wiping away at that eye, making it worse every time. But in the third round, they called it, and of course, this dumbass comes out saying, oh yeah, I was about to turn it around, I was about to this, I was about to that, I was just now getting in a rhythm, wish they didn't stop it so we saw him get fit. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Fucking, I wanted to see Colby have to strikes or just get knocked out cold. That would have been great, or at least have to have the ref pull Buckley off of him. But with that bloody mess of a face, that's already a mess of a face, they couldn't let it keep going. Dana kept saying in Vegas, you know, because this happened in Tampa, Florida, but Dana kept saying in Vegas that, you know, they would have let it keep going. If you think about it, Irene Aldana got her face basically opened up in half, like that crazy cut that went all the way across her damn face, and they let that shit keep going. So Dana could be right. It's kind of like Nate Diaz cut versus Jorge. Yeah, exactly. Diaz's dumbass kept fucking touching it too. I'm like, bro, well, after they close it up and, you know, get it to stop bleeding, when you come into the next round, don't fucking touch the cut anymore. What are you doing? I mean, I get it, you know, it's there, it's just something that you just keep doing, but fuck, man. Talk about getting and you know, everyone's like, oh, Colby, at least Colby was tough, he wasn't trying to find a way out, blah blah blah. But I'm telling you, he's touching that cut for a reason, because he knows it ain't bleeding anymore. So guess what he does this, and guess what happens? It starts bleeding again. Easy enough, right? Why would you put yourself in that position? I don't know. But that's my argument for everyone saying that he wasn't looking for a way out. I say bullshit. But that's just because I don't like Colby. I'm biased in that way. And I'll never stop saying it. So this picture, I'm ending on this picture because this is my favorite picture right now. That's kind of a rude thing to say, and I respect all these guys for their talent and for their, you know, what they can do in the cage and the fact that they are professional fighters. But when you dislike somebody, it's, you know, the guy's gonna be fine. It's not like he's dying on his deathbed, so it's not that disrespectful. It's just he got a cut on his eye and blood all over his face. I don't know if you saw, if anybody paid attention, but man, and in some of those scrambles that they had, Buckley's knee was literally dripping blood as if he was cut. That's how much blood was on the canvas, and he stuck his knee in it and came up looking like he just stuck his knee in a pan of wet paint, which was insane. It was a lot of blood. That's a nasty cut. And from what the doctor said, you know, part of the reason, she's like, hey, with the position of that cut, where he's cut on his eyelid like that, he could lose his eyelid if that shit spreads and opens up more. So I guess it's legit, you know. I guess you can't complain too much, but that's all everybody did was complain about that fight being finished, me included, because I like the Chimaev super fan said, I wanted to see him get finished too. So that would have been a good topper to end the year. So this means it will cut open easier if he fights in Miami versus Burns. Yeah, and that's his built-in excuse as to why he loses to Burns. Well, I got that cut. I couldn't. That cut just, it's not my fault. Oh, Tersey. Oh, what did Tersey say? Oh, that was Tersey that said that. My bad. Chimaev superfan, always an excuse. Yeah, exactly. Why my chat just went crazy. It was like jumping up and down. So I thought that was, yeah. Anyway, exactly my point. It's a built-in excuse for him. You know, he talked about in one of the videos after the fight, he was talking with Chael in the back saying, oh, not bad for not having a camp, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, I get it, man. This was a late notice fight because, you know, Joaquin Buckley was supposed to fight Ian Gary. That's the thing. What do you guys think? How do you guys think this fight would have gone if Buckley was fighting Gary with the way he looked in this fight? I mean, obviously Ian Gary's way more talented than fucking Colby Covington at this point. He's got better striking, he's got better jiu-jitsu, and Buckley was like a marauder in this fight. So I mean, how would that have gone? And you know, everyone's talking about how that should be the next fight for Buckley because he was already scheduled to fight him, but now he's coming off a win and Gary's coming off a loss, but Gary doesn't really look bad in that loss. He actually looked pretty good in that loss to Hamzat. I mean, not Hamzat, I'm reading the chat. Against Shavkat. Buckley Gary is a good matchup. Yeah, for sure. Wouldn't be mad if they rebooked it next. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just don't know if they will because we got one coming off a win, one coming off a loss, but it's not like that's unheard of. I feel like that would be, but who would win? Do you guys have an opinion on that? Like, it's a toss up for me because the way Gary looked against god damn it, Shavkat. The way he looked against him, I feel like he would definitely be in there with Buckley, but Buckley hits hard, but so does why can't I Shavkat? I can't stop forgetting his name. So I don't know. I feel like it's a toss-up. It's definitely a good matchup, and that's probably why they should make it. But I don't know if that's what's gonna happen. So in the end, Colby Covington was a bloody mess, and he gets the loss. Well-deserved. Well-deserved win for Joaquin Buckley too. I think Colby needs to give up this fucking character shtick that he does, but you know why he won't? Because then he'll completely be irrelevant. But I think that his little fucking act, his little MAGA guy shit, that's over, bro. Like, people just don't care about that anymore. It's not as polarizing as it used to be. You're just a dumbass. So maybe if you want people to like you more, stop being a dumbass. Buckley wins, huge momentum on Buckley's side. Yeah, King Tersey said, I think Gary might win 3-2 over Buck. Okay, I could see it going to decision, and if that happened, going Gary's way. He's got a good way of winning by decision that way. But Buckley has that power and that speed. So I don't know. It's a tough one, and it's a good fight. I think that is a good matchup to make. So we'll see what Colby does after this. If he gets that Gilbert Burns fight, he's out there talking shit already. He wants to get bloodied up again. Gary really needs to throw more leg kicks early on. Yeah, that's what he did. That's what he did earlier when he was, in his first few fights. He's got those long ass limbs, man. Like, use them. Even though he kicked that, what was it? No, I'm thinking of Bo Nickel. Shit. Anyway, yeah, I agree. He should throw some more kicks. I think it would work out better for him. He did throw some decent kicks against Shavkat, but so yeah, that's it. Wraps it up. That's the last event for UFC this year, and the last event we get to talk about this year for this show as well. Saw him KO D-Rod with that head kick at the ABC card. Oh shit, you got to see that live, huh? That was fucking dope. Yeah, that big ass head kick, man. I mean, poor D-Rod. That dude looks so tough, but he just can't seem to put shit together and get some good wins. But yeah, that must have been a great fucking knockout to see in person. So yeah, that does it for me. And as far as next week, I will make up my mind. It's a toss-up right now as to whether I have a show next week or not. Being Christmas and all, maybe I'll just record something short and just put it out as a video instead of going live. Either way, Warlock Boxing, what's up? So yeah, I mean, we'll see if I have the show next week, and if not, I'll just throw a video out there or something quick. Maybe a quick reaction to this boxing match coming up this weekend. Don't forget to watch that. Usyk versus Fury, the rematch. We'll see if we get a trilogy out of this, if Fury can pull off the win. End of the year awards. Yeah, that's what everybody's doing. It's tough to come up with different ones, but I was thinking about doing that, or best of type shit. Maybe something like that. So I'll keep that in mind. But we're definitely, I mean, if I miss any shows, it'll probably just be next week. I'm sure I'll do one the week after. I'm not going to go too long without doing one, but I'm definitely going to try to come up with some good content, because we got 3 or 4 weeks off of the UFC. So we got to come up with something. And I don't even like taking 1 week off, much less taking multiple weeks off. So 1 week at most would be next week. We'll see what happens. Either way, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know what I do. I knew that was going to come out wrong. Just so you know if I do decide to go live or put out a video next week. Other than that, don't forget to watch the boxing match this weekend. Usyk versus Fury 2. It should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. And I will recap that whenever I do the next show. So every Thursday, 7 p.m. here on the same channel. Don't forget to watch the Technically Unsound podcast, where you can listen to me talk about other shit other than MMA and combat sports. We go live Wednesdays and Sundays at 8 p.m. Arizona time. So check that out as well. Go over to the Technically Unsound YouTube page and subscribe over there. And yeah, that's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Come back next week for something of some sort. And have a good weekend. Merry Christmas, everybody. Take it easy. I'm out. Peace.